Greetings, Earthlings and aliens. How are you doing? How are you doing? I should say benefit spongers already. You know who you are. You know who you are. Maybe you don't. Obviously, these videos do go out on usually on Thursdays, but I'm late today. It's a Friday. They go up early for people who fund my Patreon, and then they go out on Monday. Most people tend to watch them on Monday, but you know, what's the hurry? It's just some knobber with curly hair having yeah, just rambling. And yeah, I've had a few people in comments say, Matt, what happened to Sonny? I have had a haircut. Yeah, it was intentional. Be that as it what you know. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it was intentional. I think it's good though. Otherwise, I wouldn't bloody do it, wouldn't I? How is everything? Everything's pretty good actually. I'm knackered though, right? This week has destroyed me, and don't give me any fucking sympathy. I don't want an ounce of sympathy because the reason I'm destroyed is basically because I spent the entire of last week at Glastonbury Festival, which was brilliant. I saw some great bands. I had a great time. It was really good. Yeah, really good. I saw some great stuff, but it was really muddy and I was walking around a lot and I didn't even really get that messed up. Like, I was drinking fairly consistently throughout the festival, but nothing like obscene. It wasn't like I woke up in a field and going, where am I? Who am I? I think it was just the real intense period of walking around a lot for about 5 days and not getting much sleep. So I feel like I'm still recovering. And also, even though, yeah, my other commitments have all kind of bottlenecked up and it's like this week has been a full on, I've hardly done anything on the channel. Obviously I did a stupid video about sports and now I'm having a beer because it's 6 o'clock on a Friday and I'm shattered. But I've mainly been catching up with shut up and sit down stuff because obviously the Gold Club stuff we do with them, with sending out the packets, really comes around quickly. It's only 4 times a year, but yeah, it's amazing how quickly it sneaks up on me. But that's good. I'm almost there with it. I'm just designing all the bits and I've been really getting into that. I've basically spent the entire of today designing a thing for like Quinns, who's a guy I work with on Shut Up, Sit Down, and a guy who you'll probably recognise from the Dark Souls podcast. He's a great guy, but he designed a Netrunner kind of deck guide, and I've just been designing that into something we can print. That's something that's really cool. It's really fucking cool. It's taken me like literally all day today, about 12 hours solidly, but mainly to begin with, just as a mental puzzle of being like, how do I design this? How do I make everything right? How do I make it fit? But I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing that partially because I've never really done anything that looks cyberpunk, and now I kind of know how to do that. And that will come in useful. I mean, that will come in useful for video stuff in the future. Just having an understanding of how to nail that style. And also just to kind of, yeah, I enjoy design work. It's kind of cool as well because I work so much what I do now is solitary. It's kind of nice with little projects like that when I get to actually produce something for somebody else. You know, somebody else has done the work and I kind of take the production side of it and I go, okay, well, you've done some work. Now I'm going to make this work beautiful. I'm going to make something really good out of this. And that's kind of satisfying in a way. Obviously, I wouldn't want to do it for everything because I don't have bloody time. But Shut Up and Sit Down is basically my exception. You know, that's the one thing that I will quite happily let bleed into my time. You know, not to a point where I'm not doing anything else, but I'll happily give it more than I need to because I think it's great. And I think it's just, you know, I think having a site that celebrates play and celebrates games and has quite a brilliant community around that of people who are just joyful and really interested, I think it's a really positive thing to support. So yeah, I enjoy doing it. Other than that, really, this week has pretty much just been catching up on stuff, catching up on emails, replying to people, being polite and all that stuff. Yeah, I really hope to get Sony Abridged done this week, but I've just been too tired, if I'm honest. It's not really about having the free time. It's just every morning I've woken up, I've been like, oh, I don't feel like it. And I feel like, you know, I can only do it once, you know? So if I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly. So I want to make sure I'm in a kind of right mood. Otherwise, I'll do it and I'll be like, well, that was crap. And I kind of figure with Sony Abridged, it's kind of hit the point already now where people have been waiting so long that it's kind of like, it's not relevant anymore. So if I'm going to do it, it just has to be good. Because otherwise people will be like, oh, why do we have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for that? It was rubbish. So it's not on the back burner, but I'm hoping to have more energy early next week and just really hit it. And actually next week is going to be a big I'm going to really hit the video stuff hard again. A, because I've run out of XCOM videos. I've realised I've pretty much put up my last XCOM video that I've recorded. I recorded tons of them. I spent 2 days just playing XCOM, and I've run out now. It's like, what? That time just flies. So I need to spend like a day and a half again just playing XCOM next week. And I also need to write down all of my thoughts about Dark Souls 2 and make the video about Dark Souls 2 and what I think about that. Which kind of like I haven't really written. This is how much of a fucking idiot I am, right? I am a professional, don't get me wrong. I am very good at what I do in certain things. But when I played Dark Souls 2, I didn't take any notes. I mean, why? Why didn't I take any notes? I knew I was going to... To be honest, I think I could probably do most of it from memory, and I still have got all the captured footage that I had from the diaries, and I could just sit and watch my bloody diaries to get a recap. But yeah, I'm going to do something about that. It might not be a massive in-depth thing, but I have thoughts about it and I'm going to share them. And I have the same thing for Transistor. I've got that scripted. It's just a case of doing VO, and I might not do anything especially fancy for that. It may just be kind of mainly VO. But yeah, you know, it's pretty good. One thing I've struggled with recently is I've realized that sometimes my computer doesn't really handle playing games and capturing them. Transistor really had a problem with it. It like lost a lot of the frame rate, just couldn't get it above 30 really whilst capturing. So actually today I have taken the plunge and I've ordered a PlayStation 4, which is going to be good because I haven't had an next-gen console. And it's getting to the point with all of these beasts and stuff. There are things I'd quite like to check out. And also, just mainly being able to play on a different machine to what I'm capturing on is just a smart thing to do, frankly. It just cuts out some of the tech problems, especially for games that are a bit more action-oriented or a bit more kind of pacey. So that should be good. So yeah, really on my list at the moment is to get PS4 abridged, Sony 4 abridged. Need more talking juice. Sony abridged. Play shitloads more XCOM. Transistor video. Dark Souls 2 video. Play some more bloody Wolfenstein. I like Wolfenstein. It's interesting. I want to make a video about that. I need to fucking play more of it first though, because I've still not fucking played much. Honestly, I think the most interesting thing is, I mean, at the moment, everything's come to a head because I've just finished up with all the escapist stuff, which was a huge time sink and a huge stress on a weekly basis. I've just kind of, I've not finished up. I'm going to spend most of this weekend doing it, but I'm getting there with the Gold Club stuff, the Shut Up and Sit Down. And then after that, I've pretty much got nothing else on my agenda apart from the YouTube stuff. And I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to start actually giving myself a day a week and being strict with myself and having one day a week. And maybe not necessarily in the week. It could be a weekend day, but one day a week when I do actually just, my job for that day is to play games, because I've really got bad at the habit of not playing games, mainly because I don't really get sent them anymore. And it's not even a money thing, it's a time thing. It's like if people are constantly sending you games and previews and stuff, well, not directly, but when you work for a company, you get sent loads of stuff and you can pick through it and just check out whatever looks interesting. But yeah, like it's really hard to kind of make the time to instantly just go, okay, I'll try that. Especially, you know, I don't have a problem with paying for games, but if you're paying for like, you know, maybe 10, 15 pounds for a game, when literally all you really want to do is play it for about half an hour and see if it's good, it's a bit expensive to do that, you know? So I haven't really got a solution for that at the moment, but I guess I'll try and work something out. It may end up that I just actually, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I do need to play some fucking games because I feel like I'm getting out of touch. Yes. But everything's all right. I'm just knackered. I'm glad I haven't done the Sony abridged thing though. You might not be glad. You might be going, why the fuck haven't you done it? But yeah, I kind of had I had a fun idea earlier this week to do with basically ripping the piss out of sports. Not sports as an activity, but sports as a culture. Yeah, and the fact that it's kind of like, why are esports trying to aim to like sports exactly? Like there are lots of things wrong with sports, and it's like esports have the opportunity to invent their own world rather than to copy the one that existed before. And there's so many things that are really bad. Even if you love sports, you have to accept that there are so many things about sports that are kind of shit, that actually if we could get rid of these aspects of it, it would be better. And I think most people would agree with that. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to kind of my aims at the moment, my medium terms aims are try and stop working so fucking hard, because I am just there's something wrong with my brain that forces me to constantly just be like working, and I do a lot of favors and stuff for people outside of this stuff and outside of other things. I have friends who say, "Oh, Matt, can you help me with this? Matt, can you help me with this, Matt?" And I do actually spend a lot of time doing that, mainly because well, you know, I'm very fortunate in terms of being supported by lots of people, and if I have ways I can support other people around me who I think are good as well, then I do. And sometimes that's with money, and as I've said in previous videos, I'm trying to keep up with the whole like spending 10% of what I'm earning through Patreon on other crowd-funded projects, be that Kickstarter or Indiegogo or just donations for stuff. But also, like, you know, not just money, like time. You know, I mean, like I've got I have a specific set of skills. You know, I've got things I can do, and sometimes that's more valuable than money in a way. Like if people have something specific they need help with, and I think they're good people, and I think they're talented people, then I do my best to help them. But I haven't got any free time at all. I'm just working 7 days a week at the moment. But hopefully that will clear up. So yeah, make myself some more time, find some time to actually play games, and try and find a balance between actually following up and creating the videos that I'm supposed to create because I've said I would, which is important, and also not getting too caught up with a sense of commitment, and still having that freedom to just, whenever I have a mad idea, just to be able to run with it, you know? And that's why I kind of chose this week to just think, nope, it's not going to happen. I'm going to do this video instead because I want to do it. Because I think that if I'm not making exactly what I want to make, then the quality of my videos will drop. And that's something I worry about a lot. If you watch a lot of these videos, you'll have heard me talk about this before, but retaining quality is something I care about an awful lot. But it's very difficult, you know, because well, the perception of it is difficult. I think it's just when I started doing my videos, I didn't really have any expectations. I kind of expected everyone to say they were a bit shit, really, maybe have some of my friends like them. But once you get to a certain level, you get better at what you do, but also you get much more scathing and much more critical of your own work. So to me, I'm always looking at my work very closely and going, it's not as good as some of the other stuff you've done. Why? But that's just a boring beast I think anyone who makes stuff has to face. You're never as good as your last record, unless you're Interpol, in which case all of your records have been of a reasonably equal quality since the second one, i.e. not very good. I'm rambling. I'm going to answer some questions. First up, not a question, but quite a lot of people talking about eggs. That's great. Got a lot of time for that. I think it was probably because I was talking about quiche in the last update. Must be. Must be. Some people bigging up the hangover omelette. That was an offshoot I did. That's, in fact, just tying into exactly what I was just talking about. One morning I woke up and thought I want to make a video about how to make this really delicious omelette. And that's what I did that day. And I wasn't sure how a gaming YouTube channel would react to that, in terms of people going, why is this a video about eggs? But people seem cool with it. And that is a really, really fucking good recipe as well. If you haven't tried it yet, give it a go. It's quite hard to master omelettes. As I say, the main thing with omelette is confidence. Keep the pan hot, cook it quickly. If you've got the right temperature and the right ingredients and all goes in the right time, it shouldn't take longer than about 20 seconds to cook. Fumph, fold, plate, eat. God, I keep thinking about that omelette and I've got a food erection. It's not like a real erection. There's no penis involved. It just involves thinking about food and going, whoa, good food. Okay. Paul Cosgrove says, enjoy Glastonbury. Were there any bands you were surprised to enjoy or any you were annoyed to miss out on? I like the way he's written this. He's written this, even though he wrote this weeks ago, he's written this knowing that it would be, in retrospect, smart. Yeah, I was really surprised to enjoy Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton sang a song about her coat of many colours that her mother sewed for her out of bits of rags, and she was talking about that song before she sang it, and I started crying. I was just crying, not like blubbing, but my eyes were full of tears, and I was actually really surprised by that. Not only was she great, a lot of people were saying she was miming, but she wasn't. I mean, like, yeah, just one of those dumb things. I got home and everyone's like, "Oh, I heard Dolly Parton was miming," and I was like, "Why?" And like, look at this video. It's like, oh, the video's just out of sync. Like I was right near the front. I could see her singing. She was singing, but she was great. I quite enjoyed the Wailers as well. Obviously, Bob Marley songs. It was just Bob Marley songs. It's like I'm not a massive fan of Bob Marley songs, but the funny thing is, you put a bunch of them on, and people, you'd be like, yeah, these are good songs, especially with the crowd, and people passing things around the crowd. If you know what I mean. But yeah, there was loads of stuff which was a good time. I was annoyed to miss out on a couple of things. Oh, what did I miss that I would have liked to see? I kind of would have liked to see Metallica. I didn't see Metallica because my girlfriend really wanted to watch Brian Ferry. And to be fair, so did I. I kind of think Brian Ferry's one of those guys you sort of think he might not be around for much longer. And I listened to a lot of Roxy music when I was growing up in the back of a car when I was a kid. So that was really good. Everything I saw was pretty good, to be honest. I enjoyed Wild Beasts. They were good, even though I was worried they were going to get a washout because the rain was so heavy that they had to turn all the power on. The whole of Glastonbury had to turn the power off for like 20 minutes. And it was like, not during the one band I want to see. Irritatingly though, actually, I thought that's the thing I missed. Tune Yards. The two bands I really wanted to see were Wild Beasts and Tune Yards. And they were on at exactly the same time at opposite sides of the site, which was just like, fuck you, like, what are the chances? But yeah. Nick says, again, not a question really. He says, Matthew, tidy your room. Well, actually, yeah, I have tidied my room. So there, actually, by the way, I've got the only thing I haven't tidied away is my shit's given box because I don't know what to do with it because I don't really want to throw it away because it's a large cardboard box that says shit's given on it. And yeah, I don't know. It means if somebody's like, how much do you care about that? You can just turn it upside down and go, oh! Yeah. I mean, what's not to like about that, frankly? Okay. A lot of this is just a bit of chat based on things I talked about last time, really. Yeah. A lot of people talking about Apple proprietary cables, proprietary product limitations. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, there was a bit of chat about Apple products. It's quite a boring topic for me, really. I've made up my mind about Apple quite a long time ago, and it was one of mild disinterest. And over the years, I've just sort of gradually slid into, oh, fuck those guys. I think the main thing I forgot to mention actually was the bloody Thunderbolt. Like, at a point at which everyone else in the world is moving towards this, frankly, like, utopia style system of everyone having one cable, like everything, one cable. How do you charge it? Oh, I charge it with a charging cable. Like, how do you get data out of your thing? Oh, with the same cable. Like, there's just one cable. Like, that's so fucking smart. I remember growing up having, like, looking through boxes of massive, like, cables and chargers, looking for, like, the exact type. No, this is 9 volts, and this is 5 volts. I need the 7 volts. It's like, oh, like what? Having one cable for everything is fucking genius. And the fact that when everyone else was doing that and getting on board with that, Apple went, oh guys, yeah, we're going to use a new one. It was like, brilliant. You're gonna get on with. It's like, no, we've made a brand new one that's just for our stuff. It's like, fuck off. I'm sorry, but that's just like, no. Like, I don't care what things it does that are really good. It's not good enough. Like, because it means sometimes I'm around people's houses and they've only got an Apple charger and they don't own who doesn't own a Kindle? I mean, even if you don't read, everyone's got a Kindle. It's been Christmas for somebody, everyone's had a Christmas at one point, haven't they? I say everyone's got a Kindle, surely. Get a Kindle. Read some E&M Banks books. He died last year. He's fucking fabulous. It's more imaginative than anything you can possibly imagine. Unless you're a better writer than him, in which case fucking get on it. George Conway, a lot of non-gaming related questions this time. Is Ribena and gin going to be a good idea, or should I stop before I get hurt? Ribena and gin sounds like a bad idea, mainly because gin is quite a good drink, and unless you're drinking very, very, very cheap gin, Ribena is kind of probably going to ruin it, you know? Have some class, George. Have some class. A few people actually. James is talking about the whole system of like me taking time off and me worrying about like I talked about that a bit last time actually about how I'd feel about if I was taking time off of doing this and making these videos, and putting a freeze on the payment to take hiatus from it. I wasn't talking about holidays really. I kind of already think like if I want to take like a few days off, I kind of think that yeah, for the same reasons like with any job, it's kind of a thing. It's fine, like you can do that. I was talking more about like, let's just say like, I don't know, let's just say that a big company got in touch with me and they had a project they want me to work on, and it was a really exciting project, and I thought it'd be something that would be like, it basically, if it's something that wasn't a holiday, if it was something where I would just be like taking a month off to do another job, I wouldn't be too cool with that, you know, because it would be like I'd be getting paid to do something else. So yeah, like that's what I'm talking about really, and that's when I want the functionality. But I mean, yeah, actually on that note, I mean, I am going away to America for like a week and a half, I think, in August, which is going to be like half holiday and a half work, because me and the guys from Shut Up and Sit Down are going to Gen Con, which is the biggest board gaming convention in the world. It's huge, and there's going to be loads of people who are going to be really into board games, and it's going to be fascinating. I don't know if I'm going to have a great time or not. I'm sure I'll have a good time, but I don't know what it's going to be like. And as I've probably mentioned in the past, I'm often not too good at places with lots of people in them, so that will be interesting. Yeah, but I mean that would be cool. But that would be me out and off the radar. God, my hair's gone fucking nuts today. Calm down, you stupid mop. So that will be me out and about, off the radar for about a week and a half. But you will eventually get some funny videos out of it. Basically, I was just being, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not clairvoyant. I'm not clairvoyant. Some questions here about Mr. Waffle. I'm sorry. There's a question here from Mr. Waffle. Mr. Waffle asks, regarding the issue of wastage, how do you feel about digital products? E.g., do you still buy physical games or prefer digital downloads? Well, Mr. Waffle. Sorry, I just like the idea of like that being your real name. And see, I'm very serious. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Waffle. Thank you very much. Yes, I have been accused of trying to cover people in ice cream and maple syrup. And it's bollocks, I have you know. It's bollocks. He's talking about importing and stuff, and talking about going digital or buying things. You know what? I don't really care about owning things anymore. It just takes up space. I like to have digital games because they don't take up space. The only downside with that is it means sometimes you finish a game and you think, oh, that game's fucking good. I'd like to lend it to a friend, but I can't. But obviously, the systems now are being put in place that allow us to do that, which is cool. But I mean, most of the time, the ones I'm really guilty of is I keep buying games on the digital store on my 3DS, and then that's just dumb because it's like, well, not only can you not give it to anyone else, you might just be stuck on that device, and if you lose that device, you lose that game, and that's like a bit nuts. It's like having a console that you have all of your games in the CD drive at once, and if you lose it, you're like, oh, I just lost like all of my games. So that's kind of bad, but I'm still quite lazy, and I sometimes can't resist the temptation to just have a game now rather than waiting till tomorrow. That's a big pull for me, really, is being like, I can have it now. I can have it now. Particularly as I don't leave the house. And particularly because there isn't any bloody games retail in London anymore, really. It's all gone. There just aren't any shops that specifically sell games, really. Unless you go quite far out into the suburbs. Michael Davin says, like I said previously, Schumacher's Small is Beautiful is something for you to have a look at. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but I'll try and remember to do so. He says, out of interest, where have your political and ethical opinions come from? Uni, work, friends? It's a good question. Probably, I mean, all of those things. I think the thing I had to say with that is they've changed a lot over the years. My political and ethical opinions when I was at college and at school vastly differed from those that I had when I was at university. And the ones I had at university, even when I was at university, I was pretty confident that I got everything pretty nailed and I understood the world and I was right about everything. Yeah, and then I realized a few years after university that I'd been quite wrong about lots of things. And then again, in my late 20s, I realized that I'd been really wrong about quite a few things. And I think I'm probably really wrong about a few things right now. It's a learning curve, I think. Everything's a learning curve. But I think, lots of things. I mean, some of it from music, I think. Stuff like games like Planescape Torment really opened my mind up to the idea of philosophy in a way, because I hadn't really thought about that. So that opened my mind up quite a lot in terms of philosophy and politics and music substantially, like even stuff like listening to one of the bands I saw at Glastonbury, actually, the Manic Street Preachers. You know, they're pretty shit now, but back in the day, listening to songs and then being like, oh, what's this song about? And looking it up and reading about stuff and just getting like, you know, through music, getting politically interested. And there's also a band called Misty's Big Adventure, and I love their kind of almost philosophy on life, and their songs are very much kind of embedded in how they feel about the world and how they feel we should behave and what's worth worrying about and what's not worth worrying about, and also just learning to really appreciate the really small things. And so I think lots of things have come out of those things really, but friends particularly, and work, that's a big one. I think actually somebody who's really kind of accelerated that for me a lot in the past few years, certainly anyway, it's probably John Blythe, or Log as he's known, who's a really good friend of mine, who also I record the podcast Regular Features with, which is basically filth in podcast form. But he's fantastic because he's actually quite a bit older than me. He's like 40 now, so he's been around for a long time. And as a 40-year-old gay man who's very, very, very fucking clever, he knows shitloads more about the world than I do. And when I was working at OXM, especially when I started occasionally I'd write blog pieces or I'd make videos to do with kind of issues in gaming, to do with sexism and stuff. Or sometimes I get into arguments on Twitter about similar stuff. And he would kind of politely say to me, you didn't handle that very well, or, you shouldn't have said that. And actually, you're wrong about that. And, that joke was inappropriate because, and he kind of helped me shape up a lot really. Cause I was pretty sure about that. I knew the difference between an acceptable joke and an unacceptable joke. But I think because he's really funny and really clever, he kind of taught me an awful lot about that, and really kind of just by giving me kind of a bit of, and it wasn't even that he'd give me a tap on the shoulder. Usually it'd be me bitching about something. I'd be like, I can't believe this person's had a go at me for doing that. Like, that's bullshit. And he'd be like, well, actually they're right. And it's like, oh. So I think having friends who are good enough to A, know when you're being wrong, and B, tell you when you're being wrong, is really, really useful. And I was getting loads of stuff wrong, and he was massively, massively helpful, basically. Because, I don't know. I think with jokes it's difficult, and I hope that I'm better at that stuff generally now. I make a real effort to think about these things, and I think I've got a much better understanding of what the joke is about. I think that's the important thing. You can use anything as subject matter in your joke. There's no limits there, but it's important that if you're punching down, then you have to make sure. Well, you can't be punching down. Basically, it's like, if the subject matter is something which is socially beneath you where you are, then that cannot be the subject of the joke. That cannot be the joke. And I think just thinking very carefully about how a joke has been constructed, or how what you're saying has been constructed, to make sure it's clear that you're not attacking that, is really important, especially if you do quite often skate around with risky subjects. And I'm pretty sure I get that right a lot of the time these days, but sometimes it's funny because I do panic, because sometimes people do say to me, that's really inappropriate, you made a joke about this, you shouldn't have made a joke about this, especially on Twitter. I fucking talk a lot of bollocks. But most of the time I am able to sit there and go, no, you're wrong. Like, that isn't the joke. Like, I think sometimes people think that you can't make jokes involving certain things, and they treat it as being a taboo. And I don't think there are any taboos. They shouldn't exist. But you have to make sure that you're not being offensive about that. It's just something that's part of the joke. The joke is about something else. It's difficult, but I think I learned an awful lot about the world in terms of my ethics, anyway, from John. Sound Xander Thompson asks, considering your passion for games and experience in the industry, have you ever considered making the jump from the journalism side of games to a role in creating them, whether it be as a writer, designer, or something else? Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't know how or why that would happen. Well, I know why that would happen. That would happen because I'm fascinated in games, and I would quite like the idea of making a game or being involved in making a game at some point. But I don't know how that would happen, because I do have a number of skills, but I'm not sure many of them are terribly useful for game development. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are. I think actually, yeah, weirdly, I think my organization and my ability to like have a lot of information and have a lot of things, and I think I'd actually be quite a good producer on a game. But I think I can't see myself doing anything else really, because it's like, I've got most of my abilities. Like I've got quite an eye for design, but that doesn't really extend past like making things look nice and doing things in InDesign and Photoshop. Like, I'm not an artist. I can level things up and make things look nice, but I'm never going to be an artist in a game. I'm never going to be a programmer. I don't know if I could even be a designer. I don't know. But yeah, production I'd probably be quite good at, because I am actually quite good at like being able to kind of pinpoint important things in the maelstrom and kind of tie something together and make something. I think that's why I can actually. Some people who produce videos are often quite surprised at how quickly I'm able to actually produce videos. I can produce videos very quickly, to the point at which actually I was in a job interview once and they asked me how many videos I could make in a day. And they didn't really believe me. And I was like, no, I can. I can. But I think it's because I'm like, I kind of, whilst I'm doing something, I can work out what I've got to do next. It's like kind of like juggling and spinning plates or something. But that comes with time, I guess. But I like to be involved with games at some point. I think maybe that's something I could see myself doing in a few years, when I get a bit older, and also especially when lots of people who I know now may end up working in game dev, and it may be that in the future, like, somebody says to me, Matt, we want you to come work on this because we think you'd be really good at it or something. I don't know. Maybe, like, especially because there have been a bit more of a trend these days for games that are just supposed to be funny. Like, I think I'm quite good at that. I think I have an understanding of how to make things funny. I don't always execute it perfectly myself, but I know why. I know how to do it. I know where all the levers are. Simon Lee says, can you make drinking booze a part of every update video? No, possibly. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I've been quite bad. I've been trying to get into the habit of doing it within good time, but I've been so busy this week. I was going to do it last night after recording Dark Souls, because I recorded 2 episodes of Dark Souls this week. So I've got one definitely for next week, but I'm going to try and record another one next week as well, and just keep 1 week ahead, because it's not a terribly relevant games podcast, right? And that's kind of by design. I don't want to have a news section, I don't want to have a debate section, because, I don't know, I feel like so many gaming podcasts can quite quickly just become a bit weirdly negative and weirdly, like, just bitching about the industry, and I don't know. I mean, I kind of felt like, to a degree, and I was guilty of it as well, don't get me wrong, but I felt to a degree that's what happened when I was on the Video Gamer podcast, and it did just become, a bit different. But I think what I like about Dark Souls is that because we circulate the people on it, there's no stagnancy. There's no period where everyone is the same people every week, and you go, "What have you played?" And everyone's like, "I haven't played anything. We talked about it all last week." There's always like a bit of a mix, and it keeps it fresh. And I'm kind of quite excited about having that and keeping that, because I said about how many podcasts about video games can you name me that primarily and really try to keep a really tight focus on talking about games. Like, you might meander and have some personal stuff for a second, but really keep it tightly about games, and also are just really constantly quite positive about games and excited about games. And even when they're criticizing games, they're doing it in a way which is actually talking about the game design, talking about what things could have been better and stuff, and how it would have been great, rather than just getting angry about the industry, and there aren't many of them, And I'm not having a go at the other podcasts that do it. I just think that's the niche. That's the niche I want, because that's one of the reasons I call it Daft Souls in the first place. I always wanted it to be a bit silly and a bit fun and a bit more lighthearted. There's too much hate in this world, man. There's too much hate in the world. Matthew Arnott says, do you say bye to everyone in that way, or is it just a for the videos thing? Also, do you think about the way you say it so as not to overuse its effect? He says, not gonna lie, bye was maybe 40% of my reason for signing up to be a Patreon. The bye thing is really weird. Like, I never intended, and I kind of don't want it to be, but it is. You can't really I mean, I've probably mentioned this before, but I think it was the first Abridged video I ended it, and it was yeah, it was, what's he bloody called? It was Don Matrick. It was Don Matrick at the end of the, no, it wasn't Don Matrick, it was Andrew House, because the PlayStation was the first one. It was Andrew House who at the end went, bye, in a kind of, bye, bye. I don't know, but whatever it was like, bye. I think it was that, but it was basically me doing an impression of Ken Corder, which is an invention of Adam Buxton's, who's fucking brilliant. I love Adam Buxton. Very formative. Most of my silly voices come from the Adam and Joe show, just because I used to watch it so much. Me and my brother used to copy it and do the voices, you know? I feel like I'm ripping them off, but I guess that's just how generations work, you know? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of weird because it's like it's become my catchphrase and I feel really guilty because it's not mine. Like, I kind of copy it off someone else because I never tried it to make it my catchphrase. But then there was this weird thing about people being like, oh, I love that, you've got to say like that. And then people started getting really annoyed in videos when I didn't end a video by shouting bye and waving. But I do try and say it differently each time. I do try and, which gets difficult, but I do try and do a slightly different bye most of the time, just so I don't feel like A, I'm doing exactly the same thing over and over again, and B, that I'm not completely ripping off Ken Corder. So yeah, it's funny. It's really weird. It's like, I think it's a funny thing about catchphrases, I guess, is you can't really, if you try and invent a catchphrase to make it set, I don't think it will work, but it's one of those funny things where it's just like, yeah, that's, no one's really ever asked me that. I've never had to explain that to anyone outside of who already knows about it. Because I've never had a conversation with somebody who doesn't watch my videos who's been like, oh, do you have a catchphrase or something? And I'd have to be like, yeah, sort of I do. It's just me saying bye. And like, well, what is that? And yeah, it's literally, do you do it? No, I just do it at the end of the videos. I say bye, and you'd be like, well, everybody does that. I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah. So that is, yeah, it's weird, but it is quite fun. I think I've tried to have fun with it by making it basically just a chance for me to just use my stupid face to the maximum and go, and just start pulling really wacky faces, because I have got a strange, long, pointy face that I can do quite a lot of fun things with. I look like a mad witch. But that's fine. I'm good fun at Halloween. I'm good value. Stefan Z. Bauer says, Stefan Z. Bauer. He feels, he was basically saying he feels that using ad block to get rid of video pre-rolls is piracy. And basically he says, is that fair? And what's your opinion? I don't think it's piracy at all. I think adverts are crap. Like, I think adverts take the fucking piss. And I think there was a period at which adverts were fine, but now they take the fucking piss. You know, adverts used to just be like, on a pie, adverts used to just be that little, like, you know, the little, like, maybe the little bit around the edge of the pie that looked a bit nice, and maybe like a couple of like knife lines in the pie. Oh, that's doesn't spoil the pie, you know. It's there, but you don't really notice it. Doesn't spoil the pie. But then they really started taking the piss with big pop-up pre-rolls where you had to watch. When I was at Future, like, you know, we had to use a video system which put unskippable 30 to 40 second pre-roll in front of any video. And sometimes those videos were only like a minute long. Expecting somebody to watch 30 seconds of an advert so they can watch a minute. No, it's crap. But I think across the board, adverts and advertising have been really taking the piss. Even when you go to a website and it starts like playing audio when you haven't clicked on anything. Fuck off. Like, I've got speakers on my desk. Doesn't mean you can use them. Like, no. You have to, no. It's like, you are taking advantage of my computer. It's assault. I'm calling the police. So yeah, I've got no beef with people using AdBlock to get rid of. Well, the problem is because so many adverts have really, and so many advertisers and so many websites have really taken the piss with it. it's not a case of people now specifically using ad block because they go, I don't want to watch pre-roll ever. It's that you don't want those things to happen anymore. And then as soon as you have the option to use ad block and just go, I'm just going to turn it all off, you do, because I do. I mean, I use ad block. I have exceptions, obviously, like websites that I like and websites that politely ask you to turn it off. I do. But a lot of the time I just forget because I don't want things popping up and playing noises. You know, I've got often I'm doing research, I'm checking things out. If I've got 20 tabs open, I don't want, you ever play that game? Just clicking through all the tabs, trying to work out where the fuck that advert for tampons is coming from? You know, like, it's just, fuck off. So no, I disagree with that. I think the difference is that, yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem, is basically it's like the adverts, I just think that's the problem, and that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm here with the Patreon thing, is it's like, you know, I don't think adverts are the answer anymore. I don't think that's true for everything, but I think that a lot of things, like, no, like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than expecting everyone to sit through an advert for a product they have no interest in, so they can watch content they want to. Like, life's too fucking short. Like, I can't afford to sit and watch like 10 minutes of adverts every day. I could have 3 cups of tea in that time. So I think it's just a case of different strokes for different folks. And also the money, you know, the problem is like the money adverts get now, the whole thing is just broken. And the whole thing is broken in a way which is just really suits advertisers and no one else. But it's a problem that isn't just about media, it's a problem that is across the whole fucking world. Like, you know, my girlfriend, the industry she works in, it's the same thing everywhere. Everybody feels like people who are creative are the people who have talent, and the people who are creative no longer have any control because everything's just been geared up. The whole world has just been shifted gradually to suit the people who deal with the money and no one else, really. Like, it's not to say that people who are creative don't get to do creative things, but it's just like, we've got it wrong. Everything's gone wrong. And, you know, it's not an accident. It's because these people have gradually just been pulling it away until they're just like, until you turn around and go, where did all of our like the importance on quality go? Where did all the importance on creativity go? And you suddenly look over and these people are just over there going, I don't know, I've just gotta go now, I gotta go. It's like, yeah, you know, I kind of feel like advertising needs to be hit tremendously hard for anything good to change, you know, for them to actually have to shape up and go, you know what, we need to rework our model and create a system which works for media in terms of like works for creatives and works for actual consumers, you know, because it fucked me up when I was at Future. It drove me mental to the point that actually I ended up like just basically going against orders. Like, my boss always said you have to use this video upload system for videos, and I didn't. I just put them on YouTube and just shared YouTube links because obviously we weren't making any advert money from them anymore because we weren't using our proprietary system. But it's like, you know, as a creator, I wanted people to watch my work, you know? I wanted people to see it. I'd spent some time making something that I thought was good, and then I wanted people to look at it. And expecting people to sit through a pre-roll, people aren't going to look at it. So, you know? So I think the whole system's fucked, and it's fine. But actually, it's funny, actually, I will mention this now because I've been meaning to mention this for a while. I started seeing a few people on YouTube comments occasionally, like, saying, and I've ignored them, not because I'm not ignoring them, I just think this isn't the right place to have this conversation in a YouTube comment thread. But people have been like, hey, your final slide in your videos where it says like, here's my Patreon, and it says like no adverts on the end of it, says no adverts, no sponsors, but then you've got an advert for your Patreon page. It's like, I don't know. I don't really know why people are doing this. I can't tell if people like trying to make a serious point. And for the people who are trying to make a serious point, like, I'll have an answer for you in a second. But I think I get the impression some people are maybe just trying to be a bit clever and a bit like, fuck you, man, look at you. Say there are no adverts, that's an advert. Ooh, in which case, like, grow the fuck up. Like, I mean, as I've just been talking about, like, the whole thing with advertising is advertising takes the piss, right? If adverts on videos were a 4-second section at the end of a video, after you've watched the video and you can leave, they also just came up at the end and went, oh, hey, by the way, have you seen this vacuum cleaner? Adverts would be brilliant. That would be fine. I'd have no problem with adverts, but they're not. And the idea that people like would compare a little slide at the end of my videos, which just points out the fact, and it's more of just giving people a heads up, really, for anyone who's interested. It's just like, hey, look, this has been paid for by these people. It's not just about, obviously, you know, if people who've been following my work for a while find it and they go, oh, that's really cool, I might give them $1 a month, that's awesome. But mainly it's also to thank the people who are doing it. It's making a point of being like, this has been funded by you guys, you know? Like, you've been a part of this. I don't want to hide that. I don't want to like make a big song and dance about it all the time and be like, I couldn't do this if it wasn't for you. But at the same time, that's true. And I like to make a point of having a little thing at the end which just goes, this was crowdfunded. But yeah, I mean, the general point remains, is like, if you really go, oh, fuck you, Matt, you say no adverts, that's an advert. It's like, yeah, but it's an advert. Like, it's not. Like, if it was coming up 10, 15 seconds at the start of the video and you couldn't skip it, that would be reason to be annoyed, but it's not really an advert. And if you can find me adverts like that, yeah, like, that's the difference. And I just sort of think, good Lord, like, how can you not see that? How can you look at that, a tiny 3-second sting at the end of a video, 3-5 seconds, and equate that to pre-roll? Like, what world are you living on? So that's a reply to the YouTube comments that I've seen. They might have been the same person, I don't know, but I've seen a few people doing it, and it is just a bit like, really? I mean, it's just, it's obviously something worth replying to, as I have done, explaining, but it's not a good point. It's not the sort of point where you go, shit, son, yeah, that's a good point. I think it's just the sort of snarky person that quite enjoys pointing out things like that. I have found a contradiction. My name is Phoenix Wright. Objection. I really wish I was Phoenix Wright. Okay. I'm trying to read this comment, but I cannot read it. Sorry. It's partially because I'm tired and partially because it's not written very well. This one I can do. Chris Rebubble Spirit. Matt, what would you do if you suddenly wouldn't be able to get onto the internet for at least a month? Wow. Yeah. I'd probably be dead, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess the bigger question there is, what's happened to me? What's happened to me that means I can't get on the internet for a month, at least? That's what worries me. I'm looking at the bigger question here, because I fucking love the internet. I've got it on my phone, I've got it on my computer. Yeah, like, I'd probably be dead. Yeah, so that's the answer, really. If I'm not on the internet for a month, then I'm dead, or I've become a monk. I don't think I like being a monk. I'm too fond of, like, sin. But hey, you know. And Daniel Clinton Abercrombie says, hey, Matt, it's that guy that caught the Battenberg. If you don't listen to regular features, that will mean nothing to you. If you do, we did a live show recently, live show number 3. It was great fun. Had tons of people, about 80 people listening to our bollocks in a room at once. And yes, basically, I've got a bit of a running thing where I throw a Battenberg, one of those cakes, window cakes, at one of my friends. It's a running joke. But this time we threw him in the packet because we didn't know the people who own the pub very well and we were worried they might get annoyed. So we gave it to, I gave it to Daniel via the medium of throwing. But I seem to remember he said he was vegan, which meant he wasn't going to be able to eat it. So presumably he's now got it in a presentation case somewhere, polishing it. But his question, he says, just want to say you were right about Dragon Age. The combat system is a lot better suited to PC. Yes, it is. That's a great shame why Dragon Age 3 looks like it's a bloody Gears of Dragons. He wants to know, is there going to be more Matt and Steve's Amazing Week? We really want to do some more, actually. We need to get on that. Because we really had fun doing last one and we would like to do some more. We need to get on that. But as mentioned earlier in the video, by Jesus, I am tired. I'm just so tired of living. I'm tired of living. Do 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 ba 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 ba. Let's just die. No, let's not do that. That's bad. That's bad. Hang on a minute. Have I just answered? Okay. No, I panicked then and thought I just answered the exact same questions as last time. That would have been like, well, well, well dim. Let's have a look. Let's have a look in my cookbook. No, there's no more questions. There's no more questions. No more questions. And I've barely drunk any of my beer. I think that's the good thing about drinking whiskey. At least I do actually get notably drunk because it's easy to drink. Little gulps mean big drunks. No. No. Bye.